Starting, all attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Ryan Harris, and many of you on the call today will know me as the account manager at NoBlue. I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time out of your day today to be on the first of our new series of webinars featuring built for NetSuite products. So I'm joined today by Jason Ross, Chief Information Officer, and Ben Oliver, Chief Technical Officer at GetBusy. If anyone has any questions during the webinar, please use the chat option provided, and we'll answer your questions in a Q&A later in the session. So I'll now hand you over to Jason and Ben, who will take you through their presentation.
Thank you, Ryan, and thanks to NoBlue for hosting us. Thanks for everybody that's joined us today. As Ryan said, I've got my colleague Jason here with me. We're going to take a fairly informal approach to this and hopefully rattle through it as quickly as possible. We do have some slides. We're going to spend a fair amount of time in our product. We'll talk a little bit about us, give you a broad overview of what we do and how our app works and how it could help you potentially, and obviously look at take a detailed look at the integration with NetSuite. So kicking off a little bit about us, we've been around a while. We've done some stuff. We like to think we've helped out lots of customers over the years, predominantly focusing on document management, communication management across a varied range of industry sectors, business sizes, and countries as well. We've learned a lot, and we've put all of that into our GetBusy product. We describe it as one place to organize, communicate, and store work. And we're going to unpack what that means because it's a tad contrived. But most notably, everything we try and do in our product is simple and easy. And in a world where hopefully one day we get to go out to lunch or maybe have a chat over a drink, the way we would describe GetBusy if we were down at the pub, meeting somebody new, telling our friends what we do, it would be something like this. So I'm going to play a short little video here. Hopefully the animation keeps up to speed. But we describe GetBusy as like your favorite apps for work combined, built for business, designed to be helpful, and consolidated together and integrated with embedded in NetSuite. So we've got real-time messaging, we've got shared tasks, we've got files and document management capability, we've got e-signing, we've got helpfulness and reminders and system prompting and equivalent to team chat, all wrapped up, pulled together, built for business and embedded in NetSuite. So that's the pub pitch, if you like. To go into a little bit more detail, it's built for work, and specifically we mean relationships, tasks, communication, and documents. That's our definition of work, if you like. And GetBusy is great at helping with these three things and all of the problems around it independently. We have some customers using it specifically for document storage and classification and management, others using it for tasks, others using it for e-signatures, internally, externally, many customers using it for a variety of what we do. So GetBusy can handle them all independently, but unlike a lot of other apps, the way it treats them is with a level of parity where they're all intertwined and dependent on each other. And signing a document has always been a really good example of something that needs to be done, involving documents, and it requires communication. It's often done at a key stage in a relationship. So now we're going to look at those in a bit more detail, and we'll start with relationships. So the why and the who of our work, our clients, providers, partners, teammates, and more. So GetBusy's like core premise is we work for, we're all working together on, and we're working directly with people. And in an ideal world, all of the work we do would be organized, communicated, and stored by relationship. And that's exactly what we have in GetBusy. So here I can see the people I'm working with, the organizations I'm working on. We can define them in ways that are extensible, so whether it's clients, suppliers, vendors, partners, affiliates, stockists, whatever it might be, depending on your industry, we can detail those relationships. And each of these relationships has what we talk about as a magic folder. So think like a NetSuite file cabinet folder, but it's supercharged. And rather than containing just documents and files, it's containing a whole bunch of different types of work in there. So here we're looking at a client, CVM business solutions. We're here on the overview tab, and we've got two key things going on. Firstly, tasks and communication up the top there. So we've got a service review preparation task, and we've got a conversation going on about a billing query. And these things involve other people and have comments going backwards and forwards and attachments and stuff like that. And we'll look at those in more detail. And then below that, we've got active documents, so signed contracts, invoices, etc. Here we're looking at a view of the client file across the team. So one of the key things for us in terms of being able to do great work, which is ultimately our ambition as individuals and as a business, and ultimately for our customers and enabling our customers and clients to do the same. That visibility across the team when we're servicing clients and we want to know, what's going on, who's involved, what's happened, what's happening, what's been happening recently, so that we can make sure we are up to speed and deliver optimal service to the client is really important to us. The files, these folders are broken down and sub-classified. If you can see the tags label there, we've got audit, billing, correspondence, tax. These are configurable. We configure different labels and subfolders, if you like, for different industries or use cases. I think probably at that stage, I'll skip on to looking at the documents tab. So let's focus in on documents. Here we have a list, again, sub-classified by tag and type of a whole bunch of different types of document that are stored in the client file. We can sort them, we can see how they're labeled, who's been involved in storing them. And the way we look at documents is they can initiate work, support work, act as the focus on work, and be the result and record of work. So fundamentally, they are work. Now, you can integrate GetBusy with a bunch of other file systems and repositories, calling a couple out there, whether it's Google Drive or Dropbox, Microsoft OneDrive. You can easily drag and drop documents into GetBusy. So in terms of capturing, organizing, and storing documents by relationship, it's a really, really simple and easy way of getting things stored. Looking at some of the details behind those documents before we sort of move on to something else. You can manage versions of documents in a simple and universal way. You can organize documents not only by relationship and the people involved, but also projects and those tags we've seen too. And you can see and navigate to all of the contexts in which documents have existed. So if you've shared them with colleagues or people outside the business and you've communicated around them, all of that is intrinsically part of and visible via the document audit, and then a full history of activity and interaction as well, when people have viewed it, uploaded it, attached it to things, signed it, etc. So this is maybe a little bit altruistic, and sometimes I'm a bit guilty of getting on a soapbox, and this is where Jason covers his eyes in embarrassment. But one of the things we struggle with as a business is things being harder than they need to be, right? And we all suffer through things that we struggle against, whether it's systems, tools, frustrations every day. And when it comes to documents, we can't accept the idea that you have to conduct lots of clicks to put a document in the right place. Arguably, we don't want people to have to put documents in the right place. Ultimately, they just be there by proxy of how and where they're created. It's a hassle that stops people from doing it, meaning it's hard to find the information we need, especially when working in traditional folders where things can only be in one place at one time, and often that's the wrong place, let alone before you start collaborating with them both inside and outside the business, creating a tracking and auditing nightmare that loses us time, wastes it on admin, and gets in the way of great work. So preachy soapbox over on documents, and moving on to communication. So we fundamentally believe that great communication is the foundation of exceptional relationships. It breeds things like trust and loyalty and all these great things that mean we work together for a long, long time into the future. And with GetBusy, you can communicate with anyone about anything easily and securely in real time. And we're not talking clunky business communication here either. We're talking about targeted threads that are clear and concise in their subject and focus. We've got real-time updates and push notifications, new message and red indicators. So it's really a consumer-grade style, secure messaging experience built for business. There are status changes, presence indicators, automatic reminders so that we don't have to spend our time chasing work, and a full audit history of every interaction. So think sort of like WhatsApp, but built for business. Think team chat tools like Microsoft Teams and Slack, but built for focused work and avoiding those pitfalls of overlapping, prolific, noisy, and messy chat. Now here we can see that I'm communicating with Bill about reviewing a terms of service. And we're going to look to go on at specific use cases and examples about how we can use the communication. But last and final soapbox moment here, when it comes to communication, we don't accept the uncertainty that comes from not knowing if what we've sent has been seen, or if it's being done and by whom, whilst having to log and record its existence, copy it to multiple places, all in a way that's difficult to do and track, often leading to silos of information, the need to constantly chase and question, which I can't bear. I even have to create, I was talking to Ryan about this, in the world of email, where I send an email and then I go into my sent items and I flag a task or a calendar entry to make sure I follow that up in a couple of days in case I haven't heard. And I'm taking responsibility for the things that I'm sending to others. And all of this, it just loses us time and wastes it on admin and detracts and takes us away from doing great work. So a lot of the help that GetBusy offers in the form of communication comes in these structured tasks, and you can use them to do anything. We'll look at reviewing a contract, but it's infinitely configurable, and you can add anyone from anywhere, inside, outside the business, clients, vendors, partners, people you're collaborating on projects with, contractors, whatever it might be. It's really easy to add people. All you need is an email address. You get a directory, you get suggested participants, people you've recently been working with. So here I've added Bill to this, but I can do anything. One thing that Netsuite customers do a lot of is approving vendor bills, processing Dunning queries, even simple things like scheduling meetings, asking clients to upload identity documents, processing sales order queries that come in. Again, that's a big one for Netsuite customers. Ultimately, any process you have, internal or external, that needs to be communicated, something needs to be done, that may or may not involve documents or generate documents, and all of that needs to be organized and tracked and visible in the context of relationship. GetBusy is prime for. So you can add comments, you can add due dates. The relates to area down the bottom there, essentially that's being able to put it in any one or more different types of folders. You've even got personal labeling in there. You can control its visibility across the team, and surprise, surprise, because we do documents, you can add documents. So here we've added in a contract. And moving on, we have various different types of task thread communication, and one of those is signatures. So we can go straight into creating a signature. In this case, just to tell a slightly more streamlined story, we'll switch from a task to a signature. And rather than just reviewing a contract with Bill now, we're going to get him to sign it. So now that I've changed the type of task, you can see there, hopefully, that next to the document, next to the contract, we have a prepare button, and that allows us to then prepare the document or documents for signature. A couple of different ways of doing that. We've got one-click e-signing, we've got wet e-signing, more akin to what you'd be used to with things like DocuSign, HelloSign, Adobe Sign, etc., both of which produce an advanced digital signature. So from a legally admissible perspective, you're covered in both regards. In terms of preparing documents for signature, here we can see me doing the quick signing preparation, which is nice and easy. I've just ticked Samir there. He'll be the one to sign it. When it comes to the wet signatures, as you'd expect, I have various different signing controls over on the left-hand side, and I can drag and drop them into specific locations overlaying the document. And when those go out, the people receiving those for signature, whether they're internal or external, will be guided through that signing process and be able to swiggle their signature or type their signature details and have a cursive text applied to that. And the experience of people outside of our business signing documents is really, really important, and we will take a look at that shortly. But just to wrap up on signatures and tasks, just highlighting, you can template this work so it's repeatable. You can schedule that repeatable work so the right thing is happening at the right time with the right people involved in the right way, all organized in the right place. And because there's all of this work going on and communication happening and documents that are stored across these relationships and projects, classified and organized by tags and subfolders, it's really important that our customers have views where all of that's consolidated together and put into a place where it's more easily manageable, and you can interact and you can prioritize and you can sort and you can communicate and manage expectations, schedule things for later, plan your time, etc. So let's talk about working outside of the organization. So we made a call out that we've been very lucky that over the last 20 years we've helped over 1 million people. We've been building signing and client portal experiences, so our customers communicating with their customers outside of the business. And so we've learned a lot about trying to build applications that work just as well outside the business as they do inside with team members and colleagues. So it's really designed to be as easy to work with team, clients, suppliers, etc. And how that process works is based on email notifications. Those email notifications are branded using your brand and color palettes and logos, etc. Here we're pretending to be from a company called Catapult, who use this very nice green color that's very similar to the GetBusy green. I rather like it. And within that email notification, there is a secure link that's protected by lots of different security measures that we'd be more than happy to talk about in more detail with you another time, that again brings them into a branded web experience without the need to create an account or sign up for yet another service. So here we can see that brand being reinforced throughout the experience. The existence of GetBusy as part of the process of you interacting with your customers or people outside the business is almost non-existent, and then they can interact with that signature thread and sign the document in the same way as anybody using the full GetBusy experience. And that branding scales really nicely and responsively across mobile. So here we've got a couple of different sort of color treatments to give you a flavor of how that would appear. Talking of mobile, we have native mobile apps for iOS and Android, and these aren't token gesture apps. We've worked really hard to bring almost everything you can do in the main GetBusy application to these platforms natively, so you can do pretty much everything on the go, wherever you are. We've got desktop apps for Mac and Windows. And so to wrap all of that bit up together, and look at it in the context of NetSuite, we're doing tasks, communication, and documents, overlapping, supporting each other, collectively, independently, in the context of relationships, all in support of and integrated with NetSuite. And there are two core elements to the NetSuite integration. Firstly, there's our built for NetSuite hybrid suite app that we're going to look at right now. And alongside that, for greater levels of workflow automation, we've got a Celigo integration app as well, plus a variety of other plugins and other connections to commonly used applications. And we'll take a look at how the Outlook add-in works once we've had a look at the Suite app as well. And be very happy to talk to you about any of these. We've also got things like Platform as a Service, Zapier as well, to enable you to connect to thousands of apps. So looking at the Suite app and starting with sort of relationship records, so customers, vendors, partners specifically, here we are in a NetSuite customer record. And as you can see there, there's a sub-tab in a customer record, and within that sub-tab is the full relationship record, this magic folder for the customer embedded there in the NetSuite experience. So from there, you can add documents directly via drag and drop really easily. You can use the powerful task capability for yourselves and others. You can create new signature requests in there. Communications happening real time there embedded in NetSuite, and much, much more. Going a level down beyond relationships, let's look at transactions. So in terms of all of the standard transaction types for customers, vendors, and partners, whether it's an order or an invoice or a purchase or a quote, we put a button at the transaction level that allows you to turn those transactions into actionable work in GetBusy. So in the case of a quote, which is often something that needs signing by our customers, we can see there that we can send and request the quote to be signed by GetBusy by clicking on the button. So when we do that, the Suite app converts that transaction, or it renders the PDF of the quote using all of the NetSuite templates. It passes it over to a new GetBusy signature thread. It pre-populates the title with the name of the customer. All of this can be overridden and added. You can then add who you want to sign it, etc., and prepare the document for signature. You're not interrupting me, Jason. Am I missing anything? No, I'm feeling like I must have missed something by now.
You're doing good.
Okay. All right. Sick of the sound of my own voice. That's true, but not too much to go now. We've also built a Suite app portlet to sit there on the NetSuite dashboard. So in terms of those views I was talking about, where all of the work you're involved in is collected together in one place, being able to see those things alongside your other key business metrics and tasks and jobs that you've got defined in your NetSuite dashboard. Looking at the Outlook integration, we've got the ability to convert emails into actionable work. So here's an example of receiving an email about a financial statement and a balance query around that, where a lot of our NetSuite customers would use the Outlook add-in is around vendor bill approval. So you receive a new bill or invoice via an accounts payable email address or finance at, converting that into a GetBusy task and using it, adding an approver, sending it off, and getting that approved by somebody else within the business. Really streamlines that, and that obviously comes with the benefit of you got full visibility, you got full control at every stage. There are automatic reminders going out to the approvers, so work can't be missed in GetBusy. Stuff gets done without you having to put so much effort into making sure it does. Looking a little bit at what our customers say about us, very fortunate to have this sort of feedback, and we take all the feedback we get from customers very seriously in terms of how we improve the product. We're developing it aggressively, but it's great that our customers feel that whether it's slotting in perfectly alongside NetSuite, and across all of the functionality, really, whether it's the tracking of tasks or using it for communication or secure document sharing, just the variety, hopefully you can see in there, gives you some sense of the breadth and depth of things that we might be able to help with. For those of you interested in how much it costs, we are £23 per user per month, billed annually, excluding VAT. So 276 odd quid per user per annum. And all of that includes customer success, training, consultancy, and support included. Hopefully it comes across that we're trying to build an app that helps people do great work. We're very precious about the quality of what we do, very insistent that we support customers in terms of maximizing the solution and extracting optimal value from what we provide. We take that very, very seriously. And I would say as well that GetBusy, going back to my comment about simple and easy, installing the Suite app, which you can do from the marketplace, the setup required in GetBusy, in terms of setting it up and getting it ready to go, that's something that can happen in under 5 minutes. Training's relatively streamlined. We take a phased approach for bringing GetBusy into the business. So ultimately flexible around stuff like that. And I think after all that motor mouth stuff, I'm going to take a breath and drink, and wondering, Ryan, whether there are any questions that have come in or you've got for us that might help people here understand a little bit more.
Of course, thanks very much, Ben. Thanks, Jason. So we have actually had a few questions in. If anyone else has any more questions, please put them in the chat or in the question section, and I'll pick them up as we go. So the first question is, how long is a typical implementation?
I'll take this one so you can have a rest, Ben, and make sure I do something. It's a good question. We've done them. It all depends on the availability from the customer side, but we're able to turn around a Suite app install and configuration. Effort time is a number of hours, so we can turn one round within a week or two, depending on your availability. So we can be up and running very, very quickly. That does depend on whether you want help with migration or data loading and things like that in advance, but out of the box, we can get it up and running very, very quickly, very quickly indeed.
That's perfect, thank you. The next question is, does everyone on NetSuite need a license to use it?
No. It's simple.
That's a very straightforward answer. I like that.
No, you don't. It would be a bit strange. As Ben showed you in the Suite app, there's a GetBusy tab. Now, if you don't have a license, when you went to that tab in NetSuite on the customer record, you wouldn't see anything. It would ask you to log in, and you wouldn't have something to log into. However, so if that's okay in your role, you don't need a GetBusy license. It's completely independent of NetSuite. However, in your role, if you're using this for document storage and you store documents or need to find them, then yes, you would need a GetBusy license. But usually what happens is we sometimes have actually more GetBusy licenses than NetSuite licenses, because you can actually bring GetBusy into a large part of your business, maybe if they're not NetSuite users. So if you've got a sales department using Salesforce, for instance, or something else, then you can bring them in to GetBusy, and they don't have to have access to NetSuite to be able to browse those files or browse those tasks. Or we've got examples where we've got retailers that have got third-party warehouses in their team as well that share licenses.
And just to chip in, where I find that really useful is I'm not honoured enough to have an internal NetSuite license here, but I do manage a lot of vendor relationships on the product side of things, and I use GetBusy to get to our vendor contracts every time I'm talking to vendors about renewal and stuff like that. And I'm not a NetSuite user, so that can come in really handy.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Thank you. The next question is, are there any storage limits?
No, apart from per file. So you can drag and drop files as Ben showed, but the limit on that file instance needs to be under 200 meg. But other than that, you can store as many files and use as much storage as you like. We don't have any limits in our pricing. That includes signatures as well. You can get as many signatures done. We don't. There's no financial penalty outside of that subscription per user per year. So there's no additional costs.
Yeah, I'd add that 200 meg limit is there at the moment. It's somewhat arbitrary in terms of the direction we're going in the future. We do want to be able to, or we intend on being able to increase that as part of the roadmap into the future.
Yeah. But we do have a number of agencies, design agencies that use GetBusy, and they will sometimes use links to share files that are already online, rather than doubling up and transferring large files and downloading them. So you can use the links that are currently on an online storage to put into a GetBusy task and work the task through that link, rather than doing it all via email, because it still have to do it via email.
Perfect. The next question is, does it need to be implemented for all NetSuite users, or can it be done for specific departments or roles, for example?
Yeah, you can do specific departments and roles, and we can So it's similar to the question about the licenses, but yeah, you can do start with the finance team or start with a particular department or team and roll it out from there. So yes, you can start small.
Perfect. 2 more questions. Obviously, keep them coming if anyone else has any further ones. So what does the Soligo integration do?
Good question. So the Soligo integration, when Ben did the explanation of the Suite app at the transaction level, that was very much clicking a button, adding some extra information and doing a piece of work with a transaction. What Soligo does is it doesn't do the piece of work. What it will do automatically in the background is take any specific transactions that you turn on, because it's configurable, and it will generate and store them as a PDF in the relationship folder in that documents area for you to be able to work on later. So that's ideal if you want to be able to surface some of your transaction information to the rest of the business without them then needing to go and look at the full data set. So storing documents into GetBusy in those relationship areas is a short version. It's actually more complicated.
Okay, so final question we have then is, what is the most common use of GetBusy for NetSuite customers from your own experience?
Yeah, good question. We, as Ben mentioned earlier, we're NetSuite customers, so our own finance team and sales team and operations team obviously all use GetBusy. But the main key thing that they love and is the most popular for them is around the simple vendor bill approvals for people that are not in NetSuite, that fall outside of the. They still use vendor bill approvals in NetSuite, by the way, but they're using this for exceptions where someone isn't in NetSuite. We don't have all 150 staff in NetSuite, so we may need to involve someone in why a spend was done, not necessarily approval, reasoning behind the business decision. That works really well, but also our other customers always finding new stuff. Anything you can do via email and use to task, people are always finding new things to do with GetBusy. But what seems to be the most popular at the moment is dealing with customer queries and escalating them, particularly from dunning. I think Ben mentioned it earlier, but where someone replies back to a dunning email or a contract renewal email that's normally come into a generic finance or accounts mailbox, because they've automatically come out from NetSuite saying, I want to cancel this or I'm not paying. The account or the credit controller isn't necessarily they're client facing, but they need someone else to come and help them deal with that query. And so what they'll do is convert that email into a GetBusy task, send it to the owner on the CRM record, and work that CRM owner could then potentially bring others into the mix to get that issue resolved. And the finance team the whole time are being kept up to date with it. And because it's team visible, the CFO and the CRO can all see everything that's going on for that customer, even if they're not involved in the task. So they can see the current situation, particularly if it's a VIP. So that's where we're getting a lot of benefit.
Really, any process that falls into email and ends up in the black box of email is something we can really help with, I think.
Absolutely.
We have had another question come in actually. So does a customer have to keep logged in to GetBusy or NetSuite to receive the notifications when a comment's made or a document signed, for example?
No, it comes via an email, like the catapult one that Ben showed. So we communicate with the customer via email, and assuming they don't have GetBusy, of course, and themselves, if they did, it would go in their GetBusy system. But let's say the vast majority of them won't have, then yes, it's done via that secure link in email. So they don't need to keep checking; they just need to check their inbox, email inbox, for notifications.
And some customers sort of get hit a tipping point where if they're doing a really big project or doing a lot of communication with customers, then they'll then encourage the customer to download the GetBusy app potentially, which then gives them sort of push notifications on their phone as well. If there's a lot of traffic and a lot of comms going on, that's a step that can happen as well, and they can fully use GetBusy and see everything together all in one place then as well.
Acts a bit like a portal, really.
Yeah.
Document portal.
Brilliant. Okay, I think that wraps it up. So thanks again for taking the time to view our webinar today, everyone. If you'd like any additional information or a further demonstration, please reach out to me at ryan.harris@noblue.co.uk. So as mentioned earlier, this is part of a series of webinars we shall be running. So if you'd like to receive invitations to the subsequent webinars in our series, just drop me an email. I'll add you to our mailing list. Thanks again for your time today. Our next webinar in the series will feature Topulti, focusing on AP automation. This takes place on the 23rd of February at 10 o'clock. I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.